So in last week's episode, we finished off at a bikini party in Boca. In this week's episode, we're going to talk about everything you need to know to get up to speed on battery monitors. We're going to crush some more bridges on the way up the ICW through Florida, and call your lady friend into the room, because we're going to be asking Candace some tough questions that most women want answers to before they're willing to move on to a boat.
Come on away the anchor, we're casting off the line. We're about the destination, the journey is divine. Welcome to the story of living our boat life. We're doing it our own way on Lady K. We're sailing away on Lady K.
Hey guys, so you're joining me today at the DC panel aboard Lady K, our 1980 Hughes 35. Now, this boat originally had a different DC panel. We made this one ourselves before we went cruising. It's actually made out of a cutting board. You can't really tell. We get a lot of compliments on how nice it looks for something homemade. And the switches are all off of Amazon. The middle, or the big one here, is for a power inverter that we don't have anymore, so we just keep it there to fill the hole. Anyway, I bring you to the DC panel to talk about battery monitors. Now, there's a lot of different information out there, but I wanted to sort of get you up to speed on exactly what a newer, intelligent battery monitor is capable of doing. Now, in the old days, we had battery monitors, and a lot of boats still have these, where it measures the voltage. You'll get a little needle, or you get a digital readout of what voltage your batteries are reading right now. For a 12-volt boat, that's 12.7 volts would be near full, and 12.2 volts would be near empty. And when a battery is sitting idle, that's a very good way to figure out how many amp hours are left in it, or what percentage of charge is left in it, just reading the voltage. The problem is, on a cruising boat, the battery's never really sitting idle. There's always something pulling energy out of it, or something putting energy into it. And that will skew that voltage reading very, very heavily and give you really inaccurate results. We meet a lot of other cruisers that are still using a voltage-based system or reading it with a multimeter, and they do have a lot of problems and a lot of stress over how much power is left in their batteries for real. Because let's say your fridge is running. Your fridge is probably pulling 5 or 6 amps out of the batteries. Now that is going to skew your voltage reading. You might be full, so you might be expecting it to say 12.7, but it'll really say 12.4. And that's because the fridge is taking energy out. Your batteries aren't really almost empty. They're just reading that way because the fridge is pulling energy out. Conversely, if you have solar or wind or something like that, or you're plugged into the dock, the battery charger or the solar are going to be putting energy in, and your voltage is going to read 14 volts because it's charging, right? Even if the batteries are empty and it should read 12.3 or 12.2, it's going to read 14 because it's in a charge state. So really reading the voltage doesn't give you the whole picture, and it does cause you a lot of stress when you're out sitting in an anchorage for 3 or 4 days, and you really do start to get concerned about what's in the batteries. So there's a better way. Newer technology has allowed us to really get a better idea of what's going on in our batteries, and I want to explain that right now. So this is our battery monitor. It's made by Xantrex. We love it. It absolutely took that stressful power worry out of our lives entirely. And this is how it works. All right, you're joining me now in our battery bay. And this section of our battery bay is every single DC negative on our boat. And I want to call your attention to this block up here, the top section. This is what's called a shunt. And what that means is the negative battery cable, this is the right to the house bank, okay? Nothing else connects to our batteries whatsoever. This is the only negative coming off of our batteries. It goes into the shunt here, and then every single negative on the whole boat draws off this end. So you can see we have a bunch of bigger cables hooked up here, and then we have a loop going around to this small distribution bar for all of our small negatives. So every negative on the whole entire boat goes here. And that way it has to pass through this shunt before it gets to go back to the batteries via this cable. So nothing on the entire boat can draw or add power without going through this shunt. It's kind of like Big Brother. It is watching everything that the batteries do, everything that anything electrical on the boat does 100% of the time. And then the two terminals here run up to the DC panel we were at earlier, and they go to the battery monitor. So now let's go take a look at that. So this is our Xantrex battery monitor. Those two wires from the shunt, they go right into the back of this guy. And this is watching our batteries 100% of the time via that shunt. So if you go to the percentage screen, you can see our batteries are 99.9% full because it is sunny out. We have been charging. You get a little gauge here that you can read from across the room if you can't read the numbers, which is kind of nice when you're just not wanting to come all the way up to the unit to see where you're at. That's a good thing. As you walk by, you'll see that quite clearly. Now on this screen, this is really cool. It actually shows what's going in or out of our batteries right now. So we've got the inverter on, we've got the fridge on, and let me just shut the inverter off and we'll see what happens. There we go, shut the inverter off. So now the only thing on right now is the fridge, and I think there's a few things charging via USB, so we're losing a little bit of power there, but the fridge usually draws just less than 6, and then we have a few USB items drawing a little bit more. If we turn other things on, like let's turn on the anchor light. There we go, we went up 0.2 of an amp, so I know that my anchor light draws 0.2 of an amp now. Let's turn on the spreader lights. We've got some very, very large spreader lights, so shut off the anchor light, turn on the spreader lights. And wow, look at that. We just added almost 3 amps to our draw. Turn off the spreader lights, and we're right back down to just the fridge and the USB items again. It's really, really accurate because it can see everything that's going on inside your boat. Turn on our nav lights, which are not LED, and we go up a few decimal places. Now, we programmed this thing to know that we have 450 amp hours in our batteries. And if you go to this screen, it'll show you how many of those 450 we're missing. And we're missing half of an amp hour right now. So very interesting to see. I'm gonna go ahead and turn the solar panels back on so we can see what happens when they start charging again. So the machine, the actual unit takes a minute, and now you can see it starting to come on. And well, there we go. We're right up back into, and it'll just be in absorption or float mode right now because where our batteries are so full, and it knows that they're lead acid, so it's not just going to pile on 40 amps. It's just going to trickle charge them back to full again. But that's it. Anything I turn on, anything that happens on this boat, and any amp hour that gets used, I know it was used, and I can actually play with the switches and everything and figure out what's using the power and when. But you also have the old-fashioned voltage reading. So again, you know, we talked about voltage. It's reading 12.5 right now. We're actually at probably 12.7 or 12.8 because we are 100% full. So that voltage reading is not going to be very accurate.
See what it looks like without all the bolts.
That's what Boca Raton is supposed to look like when there's not a big bash going on. Hey guys, what's up? We are on the road again, just heading out from Boca Raton, and we are gonna try to hit Lake Worth, but West Palm Beach is pretty well where we're going for sure. So we got to do a bunch more bridges today. You know how much we love those. So
It's not the weekend anymore, though.
yeah, not the weekend, so it's a lot less busy. We're not gonna get waked like crazy. And yeah, so just coming up to the first bridge now, Palmetto Park Bridge. They open every 20 minutes, starting on the hour, and they should be opening in how many minutes?
4.
4 minutes. Come on.
Bridge number 2 for today. We are just making it. We got 2 minutes to spare and it's still 3 or 4 minutes away. It's tricky when the tide's working against you, real tricky. The best speed we can make is like 4.5 right now, but we're doing our best. So he said he's gonna get it open for us, so that's good. We'll probably miss the next one though. They're timed really weird. You got to do 6 knots or you're not gonna make it.
of the things you can do for these bridges is set your destination in Navionics at the next bridge, and then obviously Navionics will tell you what time you're going to get there. So you can adjust your speed as needed. And right at this current speed, we're going to get there at 10:22, 10:23, which is good because it opens at 10:30. And I was able to power down to like 2,000 RPM, and it'll get us there right on time. So pretty good. Instead of just charging up there hoping we get there in time, use Navionics in your favor. It's kind of nice to be out of the built-up area now. It's getting, you know, there's not concrete walls everywhere anymore, and it's a lot less built up, so it's kind of much more peaceful, much more quiet too. There's no other boats, so that's nice. So one of the things that went wrong with our boat was this USB port right here, and you can see actually the plastic housing is missing, and if you can see the numbers, it's reading like 20 volts. Well, at some point water got in here, and I've already taken some of the screws out because we're going to be replacing it today. When the water got in there, it started reading like weird numbers, and it stopped charging the iPad, and that's what charges our navigation iPad. So that's a pretty important USB port on this boat. So anyway, our friends Carrie and Jennifer met us in Boca Raton and were kind enough to get us a new USB port. And as you can see, they're modular, so it actually just drops right in where the old one was. Or you could put a switch there, or you could put all USB ports. It's all modular. You get this stuff on Amazon, right? So we're just going to go ahead and replace this USB port now, thanks to Carrie and Jennifer. Mission accomplished. We're now reading a nice healthy 13.3 on the front of the USB port. So wonderful. Easy replacement. Very happy to have that back. Oh, that was fun, sailing across the big open thing. We had kind of railed down for a while there, having a good time. And the cat behind us is just, we've been chatting on the radio and we're joking. And he, first time he radioed us and he said, hey, thanks for slowing down and waiting for us at the bridge. It's slowing down and waiting for the catamaran is kind of weird. And I was like, yeah, we were just joking about that. And then he just went to, he's been trying to pass me the whole time, but every time he tries to pass, we get like 15 knots on the beam and we take off at 7 knots and he can't keep up with us. So it's pretty funny, but we've been chatting. He seems like a pretty cool guy. Anyway, our next bridge, we are now at Lake Worth, or the West Palm Beach inlet, which is this big, weird industrial bridge right there. Looks a lot like a lift bridge. So instead of being like spans that open, it looks like it lifts straight up.
Whew, last bridge of the day. Thank goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh. last one called 707, and that's certainly something I could go for right now.
So we get a lot of questions on YouTube from guys, and more importantly from the gals that are with guys that are considering doing this whole boat thing. And it's more from like a female perspective on what the ladies could expect when they move on to a boat, or sort of what some of the obstacles are. So I wanted to take time in this episode to ask Candace a few of the questions that we get on YouTube to hopefully help some of the ladies out there that are considering doing this. So I got a couple written down, so here we go. What do you dislike the most about this whole thing?
Oh, fighting with the wind and the weather. We are a sailboat, and I hate running the diesel all the time because there's no wind.
Okay, so conversely, what do you like the most about this whole thing we're doing?
Going wherever I want for almost free.
Yeah.
And again, that depends on wind and weather, but you know, when we do go, I mean, our boat specifically doesn't use a lot of fuel, so to get from point A to point B, it's generally just a really, really nice experience. Even the boring days, just being able to sit back, relax, and kind of take it all in and reflect on, you know, the past adventure or the day before or what's coming next. And it's nice to be able to have the time to do that.
Cool. Okay, so is there anything as a girl specifically on a boat that you don't like?
Oh, trying to take care of myself. This is a very bad idea when I wear bikinis all the time. It goes, I mean, not so much the vanity. You can always have the vanity like you do on land, you know, wearing makeup, doing your hair. I mean, it might take a little extra work for the hubby or the DH, as most women call them in some of the forums, but yeah, like being able to straighten my hair or, you know, put makeup on, but it doesn't really matter because ideally, like, you're probably out swimming or you're out doing boat work and you're sweating or just exploring, and you just kind of lose touch with that. And it's nice, but at the same time I'm like look at these roots, I need to get my hair done.
I'm not even sure the roots anymore. It's sort of like the color is the short bit and the roots are the long bit.
That's true, yeah.
Does DH stand for dickhead?
No. There's, well, depends on who you ask.
It does. It does.
It stands for a lot of things. It could be deckhand, it could be dickhead, it could be, it's typically dearest husband or...
Oh, dearest husband. That's nice. It's convenient that those two things have the same initials.
Isn't it?
It is. All right, so one of the big questions we get often is, what's it like cooking? Because, you know, it's a boat, small galley, not very much storage.
Realistically, it's not much different than cooking at home. I mean, we've got the barbecue and we've got the propane stove inside. The only disadvantage is trying to plan a meal where, you know, one day I want steak and corn, but I want noodles. I don't want potatoes. But you can't really cook noodles on the barbecue. And yeah, we don't have like a little T-valve to be able to operate both the barbecue and the stove, so that's a little frustrating sometimes. But realistically, like, if you're on the barbecue, you're not cooking on the stove anyways, or if you're cooking on the stove, you're not really cooking on the barbecue. So
could be fixed though if we, I mean, you can install a splitter valve.
Yeah.
We just haven't done it, where you can run one propane tank and two products, like the oven and the stove and the barbecue at the same time. Yeah. We haven't done that, so.
And it does depend on the boat that you've got. I mean, our galley only has a 2-burner stove, but I've been on boats with 4 burners or almost like an apartment-sized stove inside. So it all depends on your boat. But for us, it's really not much different than cooking at home in the house.
Cool. One of the big questions we get is, did you think you'd be able to do it before we actually left? Like, when you were looking at it ahead, were you worried? Did you think it would work?
Honestly, no.
Why not?
For just as a girl in general, like I'm typically very organized, and I like my routine, you know, and just boat life doesn't always accommodate that. Again, the weather, if you're stuck somewhere where there's no provisions, just little things like that. The convenience of back home, just, you know, oh, we're out of milk. I'm just going to get in the car, drive to the store, and buy some more milk. Not always the case on the boat, but, you know, you make do. You figure it out as you go, and kind of with each hop, you either prepare a little bit better, or, you know, you work your way around certain things. It depends.
Is there anything else that you were worried about before engaging in this life that you thought you wouldn't be able to handle?
Probably the boat itself, like being able to drive the boat myself, whether there's sails up or no sails, motoring, not motoring. I wasn't really sure that I could do it without Tim being right there by my side all the time. But, you know,
how's that turned out?
I'm getting better.
You feel more confident now?
Quite a bit, yeah. I mean, even just example, he sat inside for a couple hours yesterday working on a project, and I was fine just sitting outside, driving the boat. I mean, down the ICW, so
yeah, but full jib.
Yeah, full jib. I mean, we had the spinnaker out at one point,
yeah.
And it was...
Yeah, she was driving on the spinnaker?
Like, you build the confidence, and you build the ability to maneuver your boat on your own as you go. I mean, if you leave the dock with no knowledge, trust me, you're going to gain it real quick.
Yeah, yeah. We always say the best way to learn how to sail is to go racing, but also the best way to learn how to go cruising is to go cruising.
Yeah.
I think I've learned too a tremendous amount.
Yeah, well, there's a lot more that we know now. I mean, even with the racing background, we know a lot more about our boat and our abilities on the boat now than we did before we left the dock. So, I mean, it's doable. Don't be scared.
All right, and another question that we get a lot from the ladies is about clothes. What clothes did you bring? Were you able to bring everything that you had, or did you pare it down? And if so, how did that work out?
Again, it goes back to the type of boat that you have and the storage space that you've got available to you. We don't have a lot of storage space, so I did have to downsize quite a bit. I mean, we did leave a house with 2 full-size dressers, a walk-in closet, and, you know, getting rid of some of my shoes and things like that. I'm like, oh, I shed a couple tears, but out here, I mean, even in the cold weather, you know, 1 hoodie, a couple pairs of pants, and, you know, you're fine with the cold, and ideally you're in shorts or skirts and your bathing suit, and I'm happy. I'm happier in my bathing suit than I am in a pair of pants. Ugh. So, yeah, and shoes, I mean, we know how women love their shoes. Really, a pair of runners, maybe a nice pair of shoes just for nights out with other cruisers and what have you, and lots of sandals, or just no shoes nation.
Okay, and then we get questions from typically the little bit more mature in age crowd, from the ladies of that generation about showering, and a lot of times a boat shower, I mean, is nowhere near the accommodation of your shower at home. So how do you find that? I mean, we have a tiny bathroom, and how do you find that?
I think showering is no different than at home, other than the fact that you're kind of in this cramped little space. The most difficult part for me is trying to shave my legs. But again, different boats, more room,
yeah.
a little less room. We do have a running shower, like a pressurized shower, but we don't have a hot water tank. But that's our choice, not necessarily yours. So we use a solar shower bag. And I mean, that thing gets hot. Like,
yeah.
I've been scalded a couple times misjudging how warm it was.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's really not any different. A little less pressure than I prefer, but that's all right, because, you know, once you get in the boat life, you kind of need that extra bit of conditioner to stay in your hair.
Yeah. Okay, so last question. And it's kind of the big one, I think, that everybody wants to know after you've been out cruising for a long time. Was it worth it?
100%. 100%, absolutely. The sights, the sounds, the food, the people, everything's been completely worth all the downsides. I mean, I kind of look at it as for every down or every negative, there's at least 2 or 3 positives. So it's pretty incredible.
All right. Is there anything else you'd give advice to the ladies out there that are thinking about doing this?
Just do it. Honestly, I've met so many women, a lot of elderly women that are even retired now and back at home and what have you, and they're like, I wish I would have done it. I wish. Now I'm not in the best of health, or I can't maneuver around the boat as much as, you know, like to do it every day. And that's one thing that I took with me when I was freaking out about leaving. I'm like, can I do this? Like, just all the words of encouragement from the women who wanted to do it and never did, or aren't going to. Just do it.
Just do it.
Just go.
So, ladies, if you want to see answers to more questions like this, Candace actually started her own YouTube channel. I know a lot of you guys don't know that yet because we haven't really talked about it, but it's called Ladies Aboard. I'm going to throw a link down in the description so that you guys can check it out if you want. It's really tailored toward the women who want to start cruising. She does a lot of this kind of subject matter, and she does some boat tours and stuff too, of different boats, and she gets the women on the boat to give the tour, not the man on the boat. So you get the woman's perspective of the actual boat. And it's an interesting difference, because if you ask a man for a boat tour, he's probably going to show you the engine, the sail plan, the rig, and different things. But I've seen these when she asks the woman, and it's a whole different perspective of the boat. So check out Ladies Aboard if you want to see more of that.
Hey, just wanted to give a shout out to Josh, Bob, and Robert, our newest patrons. Thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate your support. Can't do this without you.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you like our channel and you want to see more videos, please hit that subscribe button. That lets us know that you want to see more. We are running up the US East Coast right now to hide from the summer hurricanes. So if you live on the coast and you want to hang out and have a beer, give us a shout. Other than that, we will see you guys next week. Have a good one. Thanks for watching.